Hello.
Good
Okay.
morning.
Good morning. Here we are, Leadership Conversations. Today, we are going to be sharing about Shift Tactic 1, which is titled Get Real, Get Right, Mindset and Action. And so to start us off, Laura, share with us when you think of that tactic, what it means to you.
Yeah. So I want to show the book. I know I have a background right now, so it's hard to see it, but here's the book Shift. And it's a book it's called Shift, How Top Real Estate Agents Tackle Tough Times. And so let's just do a little background on this first. So Kristen, you and I know that markets shift all the time. Real estate markets are always shifting. And if you're in a real estate career long enough, as long as you and I have been in a real estate career, we know that that's normal, that there are, we're markets where we say they're a buyer's market, and there's markets where we say there's a seller's market, and then markets where we hope it's kind of right even in the middle. And Shift was written during a real estate market when it had been a really good market, and then it started to be a slower market. So again, markets shift all the time. And yet, if you haven't been in the business very long, which many of our real estate agents haven't, that are currently in the business, haven't been in the business very long. And so the last, 5 to 10 years have been a really good market and pretty easy to sell real estate, at least in our area, right? So the markets have been slowing down for about a year now, which is a normal shift in the market. And so we start looking at this book again to think about how top real estate agents tackle tough times in a shift. And there are 12 tactics in the book, and we're going to talk about the first tactic today, which, as you said, Kristen, is get real, get right, mindset, and action. And the word "and" is really important there because it's mindset and it's action. And there's one of my favorite Gary Keller quotes, and I don't know, I heard him say it or I've seen it written or both, is there's no such thing as a bad real estate market, only bad real estate practices. And I love that when we think about mindset and action, the first part is your mindset. And you and I talk about this all the time. When we think about our mindset, it's what do we have control over? What can we control? And we can't control the market. The markets are going to be shifting. There's, governmental powers that be that cause shifts in market. There's just economy things that cause shifts in market. But we can control our outlook and our response to the market, which is written in that section of the book. We can't control the market, but we can control our outlook and our response to it. So that's the mindset part, right? And I the other quote I think about is success is simple, not easy. So when we start getting into shifting markets, we have skills in any kind of market. When we start thinking about markets slowing down and shifting, it's a different skill set that you have to create. So it goes from your mindset to your action, and your skill set is your action. So top real estate agents always think mindset first. All of our books that are written at Keller Williams start with mindset because it's really important. So top producers in life, in whatever you're doing, always think about their mindset first. And then they create their action plan, right? So when I think success is simple, not easy, I'm thinking, well, what's an action plan for a shifting market? And I like to use the term, like we talk about buyer's market, seller's market, normal markets. When markets start to slow down a bit, to me, it becomes what I like to call a professionals market. And what are the professionals doing in the market? It may not be as easy. It may not be as easy to get a buyer into contract or get a listing. You might have to use more skills. You might have to learn new skills to be a professional in this market. So when you think about the word professional, to me, the opposite of that is amateur. You're a professional or you're an amateur. And typically, if you call yourself a professional at at any kind of career that you're in, that means you're actually getting paid for that career, right? That's the definition of a professional, versus an amateur is just someone who does something, they may not be getting paid for it. Well, right, in real estate, we want to get paid. That we're in this business because it's not a charity. We're in this business because we're creating a business worth owning so that we can have a life worth living. I know I keep repeating that a lot in our conversations with each other. So when I think professional versus amateur, there's 6 things that come to mind for me. One is that as a professional real estate agent, you are relational, not just transactional, which we also talk about in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, that you're relational, not transactional, that you're focusing on the relationship, which is a lifetime relationship, not just the transaction. You're focusing on the person and their needs. Number 2, that you're willing to learn new skills and adapt to any market. A professional is willing to learn, right? Mindset and action. You have to be willing to learn a new skill. Also, another skill set that I think makes you a professional versus an amateur is that you have a business plan and a lead generation plan. You have a plan.
Yeah.
And you seek out some help. Like if you're struggling in having a business plan and a lead generation plan, that you're seeking out help, you're taking classes, you're getting coaching, you're asking for people to help you in those areas so that you can continue to be a professional. Another skill is that you stay on a budget, which we're going to probably talk more about in some of the other tactics. Yeah. Another skill is that you know your stats and you can explain the current real estate market cycles to your sellers and your buyers. That's a skill set as well. You have to know your stats. You have to be able to explain that to your clients. And then the last skill set that I think about, which makes you a professional versus an amateur, is that you're building a business for life. It's not just a transactional business, it's a lifetime business where, I always use this example when I talk about what does it mean to build a business for life. When I get my hair done, the smartest thing that my hairdresser does, besides make me look pretty, is she schedules my next appointment, right? Her book is full. So in real estate, we don't necessarily schedule the next appointment. We close on a transaction, we get our calendar out and we say, okay, 7 years from now on average, you're probably going to be ready to buy or sell again. So let's schedule that appointment. We don't do that, right? It's a little bit, it's a little too long compared to having the mechanic schedule, mechanic stuff for your car, or your dentist schedules your appointment, or your hairdresser schedules the appointment. 7 years is a little long. So building a business for life goes back to how do you stay in touch with people during the time that they're not actively in a transaction with you, right? Yeah. Those are the things that I think about when I think about mindset and action.
I love that. Something you said about pros versus amateur made me think of another quote, and I'm going to say it in my version of it. But amateurs practice until they get it right, and professionals practice to never get it wrong.
Yes.
That's the difference in mastery. And you mentioned it about, the skill of the market, right? And we're talking a lot, at least at Keller Williams, about how this is a market of skill. However, reality is every market is a market of skill. What's the skill for the market of the moment? That's an opportunity to master now.
Right.
So one of the things I love to share when I dive into this book that always stands out to me, and I'll share that right now, is that there are 3 types of people that show up in a market shift. So as you're listening to this, it's good to do a little personal assessment, as Zig Ziglar says, a checkup from the neck up, on how you're showing up. So the first type of person is one that fearfully predicts the worst. And it's unnecessary pessimism, which does not serve us. The second is those people that hopefully wish for the best. And they believe they're just not going to fail. It's overly optimistic, not just positive, but overly to the sense that they're not in reality, right?
Yeah, right.
And that doesn't serve us either. Getting real, honestly, is accepting what is so that then we can have the action to move forward.
Right.
Not accepting it and not getting real keeps us out of getting into action or skilling for the market of the moment. And then there's the third. And the third are those who respect the fact that they could possibly fail at some things in this market. However, they actively prepare for the worst and strive for the best.
Yeah.
Right? So getting real gives us that awareness, that checkup in all the areas you just mentioned, right? Finances, activities, our plan, right? The steps that we're going to take and the skill we're going to lean into. And then getting right is the mindset part of now I'm adjusted and thinking into possibility.
Yeah.
The truth is, people buy and sell homes in every market condition. That's
right.
And we have the historical data to prove that. The question is, are you going to get the business or someone else? And guess what? And we get to choose that.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that he says this. Gary said this. He says, while everyone won't succeed in a shift, anyone can. Anyone can. And they do, and they have, because they did all of these things we just talked about. Right? They leaned into, got real, leaned into the right activities, got their mindset thinking possibility. What are the possibilities, the opportunities? Where am I mastering my skills? And then they took action.
Right. What you focus on expands. My favorite bold law every time.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's not to the point of complete absence of the facts and the reality of the market, but it's also not to the point of focused pessimism either.
Right.
So if there's one thing that we would love to share with everyone watching this is that wherever you're feeling a pain point right now, we're here to help you. We're here to support that. We'd love your feedback on what classes would address those pain points and ways that we can support you in those areas. And many of us in our company have been through a shift and not just survived, thrived. Let's thrive. Let's thrive through this year. Let's work on making it, the best growth opportunity, right? And finding the opportunities that are there and taking our unfair share.
Love it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.